The learning objectives of this chapter are to develop basic knowledge of safety on board ships and to learn some of the key associated maritime English terminology. This chapter covers general ship safety, signs and symbols, and emergency alarms. Soon after joining a ship, everyone should familiarize themselves with the procedures in case of an emergency. These procedures include the protection of personnel, the protection of the environment, the protection of property. Safety on board is maintained by design and construction of the vessel. With many hazardous cargoes transported by sea, ships are designed to function with extremely high levels of safety built in. Modern equipment. Navigation, communication, and safety equipment all play an important role in maintaining a safe regime. Proper training to crew. These days, the personnel on board are all trained to be aware of safety risks and to be able to act effectively and swiftly in the event of danger. The major hazards on board are fire, flooding, and pollution. Fire is one of the greatest hazards on board a ship. Risks with this hazard are reduced by ship design, restricting the opportunity for fire outbreak. Ship design to restrict the spread of an outbreak. Providing proper equipment to detect an outbreak. Providing proper equipment to fight fire. Ensuring that the entire crew are well briefed and trained to tackle any fire outbreak effectively. To protect from catastrophic flooding, the structural integrity of a vessel is critical. This is especially true in the case of heavy weather or in the event of an accident. To prevent flooding on ship, the following precautions are taken. Subdividing the ship into small watertight compartments. Selecting quality-approved material for ship construction. Providing watertight doors and hatch covers. Providing detection systems for flooding. Providing pumping systems for emergency purposes. Providing load indicators for accurate ship stability calculations. To protect the environment from pollution, all ships are required to abide by international rules and regulations. The International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution at Sea is the international maritime organization law governing the safe and clean disposal of substances potentially harmful to the environment. Its main purpose is to guide the crew in dealing with waste oil, toxic and general waste, accommodation and galley garbage, sewage, and potential air pollution. The following are some of the general precautions taken for environmental protection. Tankers are designed with double hulls to reduce the risk of tank rupture. Ships are required to carry a plan of action to deal with environmental threats in an emergency. Proper equipment and training in its use is provided for all ship's personnel. Garbage disposal procedures are in place. Even the best of protective measures cannot prevent emergency situations arising and threatening to damage life, property, and the environment. For dealing with such emergencies, two pieces of equipment are vital to limit the risk or damage: life-saving equipment, communication equipment. Adequate and well-placed life-saving appliances are provided to prevent loss of life on board. The main life-saving equipment includes lifeboat, life raft, life jacket, life buoy. All seafarers are trained in the operation of all life-saving appliances. Communication equipment on board provides the link for ship to ship and ship to shore in the event of an emergency. The Global Maritime Distress and Safety System provides the facility on board to send distress alerts to other ships and to the shore authorities. There are international symbols to identify safety and life-saving equipment. They are displayed at various locations around the ship. Click on the icons to learn more. Lifeboat. This symbol represents the location of a lifeboat. Rescue boat. This symbol represents the location of a rescue boat. Life raft. This symbol represents the location of a life raft. Davit-launched life raft. This symbol represents the location of a davit-launched life raft. Embarkation ladder. This symbol represents the location of an embarkation ladder. Lifebuoy. This symbol represents the location of a lifebuoy. Lifebuoy with line. This symbol represents the location of a lifebuoy with line. Lifebuoy with light. This symbol represents the location of a lifebuoy with light. Lifebuoy with light and smoke. This symbol represents the location of a lifebuoy with light and smoke. Life jacket. This symbol represents the location of a life jacket. Child's life jacket. This symbol represents the location of a child's life jacket. Immersion suit. This symbol represents the location of an immersion suit. Click on the icons to learn more. Survival craft portable radio. This symbol represents the location of a survival craft portable radio. Survival craft distress signals. This symbol represents the location of survival craft distress signals. This symbol represents the location of a radar transponder. This symbol represents the location of the EPIRB. This symbol represents the location of rocket parachute flares. This symbol represents the location of a line-throwing appliance. This symbol represents the location of an assembly or muster station. This symbol represents the location of a vertical evacuation chute. This symbol represents the location of a stretcher. This symbol represents the location of a thermal protective aid. This symbol represents the location of an anti-exposure suit. This symbol represents the location of a medical locker. Click on the icons to learn more. Emergency escape breathing device. This symbol represents the location of an emergency escape breathing device. Emergency telephone. This symbol represents the location of an emergency telephone. Fasten seat belt. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to fasten seat belts. Secure hatches. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to secure the hatches. Start engine. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to start the engine. Lower lifeboat. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to lower a lifeboat to water level. Lower life raft. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to lower a life raft to water level. Lower rescue boat. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to lower a rescue boat to water level. Release falls. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to release falls. Start water spray. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to start water spray. Start air supply. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to start air supply. Release gripes. This symbol represents the mandatory sign to release gripes. The alarm should be clearly understood by everybody on board. All alarms and indicators should be clearly marked. The main classifications of alarms used on board a ship are general emergency alarm, fire alarm, abandoned ship alarm, fixed fire extinguishing system alarm, watertight door closing alarm. Click on the icons to learn more. General emergency alarm. 7 short blasts followed by 1 prolonged blast is the main general emergency alarm, indicating an emergency on board. On some ships, the signal for man overboard is 3 prolonged blasts. However, the main general emergency alarm can be used to indicate any emergency, including man overboard. Fire alarm. The fire alarm is a continuous ringing of a bell. This alarm can be activated by manual operation from various locations around the ship, including the navigation bridge, engine control room, fire station, and cargo control room. When hearing this alarm, proceed to your designated muster point, closing all the fire doors behind you. Abandon ship alarm. Orders for abandoning the ship are always ultimately given verbally by the master or the person in command of the ship. On some ships, the indication for abandonment may initially be transmitted by the alarm, consisting of 1 short, 1 prolonged, and a further 1 short sounding of the bell or whistle. A verbal announcement will follow. Fixed fire extinguishing system alarm. Machinery spaces are fitted with a fixed fire extinguishing system that can deliver large amounts of fire suppressant material, such as CO2, halon, or foam. A very distinct and loud alarm is sounded before releasing these fire extinguishing materials into the space. On hearing this alarm, evacuate the space immediately and proceed to the muster station. Watertight door closing alarm. Many ships, especially ro-ro vessels, have several watertight doors. These doors are capable of being closed and opened from a remote location. Upon being closed, these doors are fitted with audio and visual alarms. These alarms may be in the form of a flashing light and a continuous ringing of a bell, which must be distinct from other alarms.